So we've got a couple of talks tonight. We've got the guys who went to the Sumner Lifeboat training, and Kyle, so I thought we'd get going just a little bit earlier. So we'll start off with Bevan and Ryan, and Glenn doesn't want to have anything to do with it. But anyways, so the origin of this, as you know, we've had a number of water landings. I talked to the Sumner Lifeboat guys about maybe doing training, and Glenn and Dave Morrow got it organised. Unfortunately, Glenn had to go to China. Unfortunately. So yeah, it was Ryan and Bevan and Dave Morrow went along and did a training session. So I read the report out of it, and it's really interesting. So I thought it'd be good if everyone get to hear about what went on and some pretty sobering lessons out of it. So I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. You can check it. So Glenn and Dave been talking with the Sumner Lifeboat guys. So if as you're driving to go up over the hill to Taylor's LZ, there's that little shed inside that's actually quite a big boat. And they also have a jet ski and a small jet boat in there as well. So anyway, they organised with those guys. They're all keen to have a bit of practice and a bit of play with some paragliders in the water, figuring out how best to fish us out. And me and Ryan volunteered as test dummies as well. Dave was along too. So we took some pictures and things and had a chat with them, and some interesting stuff came out of it for sure. On the picture here is the big lifeboat that they have. That's probably not the one that will come to us, but they practiced with it just in case. Here's the jet boat and then the jet ski in the background. And they're coming in, and they really don't like getting too close until everything's under control, because they are really worried about first hurting themselves, second the boat, and then third us. So they don't want the paraglider or the lines in the jet units of these boats, so that's worth considering, and feeds into some of the things that we'll talk about later. So me and Ryan started off on the big boat, and they attempted a rescue. You can see they've got these thankfully plastic boat hooks that they kind of use to fish us out. And there's one of the donated paragliders in the water with a dummy. So it's just a short video. I think this is their first attempt. Bear in mind they're just like trying stuff out. So when you notice that the paraglider is probably well and truly drowned by the time they get him out. At this stage it's mostly because they're figuring out how not to kill the boat.
That's not a real person. It's a dummy.
Yeah.
What's that? Looks like it, yeah.
Maybe.
Sorry, Ross.
They seem like a good use of it. It's dried out back at home if you want it back.
Yeah, I haven't lost any of the 3 secrets.
So they put a swimmer in the water for that one.
Yeah, so they're pretty keen on that now.
Right.
Just to get the person stable, so they're not getting pushed over by the harness as much, and to help them get onto the boat from the water.
I think we're just out of the way.
So yeah, this is their first attempt. You see, it's like a bit of a process getting them into the big boat.
Does the dummy weigh the actual weight or not?
No, it's like
40 kilos, something like that. So it's not as heavy. The harnesses really fill up with water as well, so this is a foam harness. That made it pretty heavy in total. So even kind of screwing around, they do get you out of the water very easily, quickly. And then the second go, they've kind of worked some stuff out. So yeah, they've got a swimmer in the water trying to manage the wing on this run. And they did ultimately decide that didn't actually work very well. They're much better off trying to stop us from drowning, which is nice. But that also helps sort of straighten the lines out a bit. One of the big problems is that you start getting tangled in the lines really quickly. So that's one of the things they kind of got back from the training, is they're now grabbing us and tensioning the paraglider a little. And that helps them and keeps us alive. So I think on this one, the boat just misses on the first pass. And then come back around.
How many lifeguards are there on the boat?
That boat, I think they were laughing about it, I think they had 4 captains and only 1 actual operational guy, because all the captains wanted to see what was going on. But it's big, they could put 8 or 10 people on that thing. And even on the jet boat, they probably had 4 or maybe even 5 at times.
Did you say that this boat is unlikely the one they're going to come and get you on?
Yeah, this is probably like the slowest version of the rescue, because it's just not like as well suited to being down in the water dragging us out.
Also, the smaller ones, they can get in a bit shallower. So if you're landing by the rocks or
Yeah, don't land by the rocks. We'll get to that later.
yeah, it's sort of mixed things because
You picked a pretty calm day to do this.
Yeah, so it's always worth remembering that there's a good chance there'll be actual swell out there if you do go in. We've got just a perfect day, like no wind, glassy water.
So I'm interested they're not thinking about cutting the lines.
No, and that's one of the things they kind of got to themselves as well.
Right.
Because once you start making spaghetti, it like sucks itself into jet units and things. So they're kind of happier at being all cohesive and just managing until you're out of the water, and then they'll probably cut you loose. They were sort of spitballing it. I think in one of their protocols it is like cut all the glider loose and drag the guy away from the wing. But while they were doing it like this style, they were not keen on cutting lines. I asked if they wanted to. They were upset about it.
Bevan and Dave did like quite a good introduction in the morning of how to pull the glider out of the water and not get more water inside the glider and make it harder. So
they gave up on that, eh?
Oh, they did?
They watched this other video and they're, pull it out trailing edge first and then the opening's emptier. But I think in the moment they realised it's just way too fussy, and so they just stopped bothering with that.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So that is those rescues. Oh, this is us just chucking the gear in, which was a bit of a laugh because you're sort of holding on and trying not to get like moved in. Anyway, so yeah, that's the jet boat unit. As you can see, you can fit a lot of people on it. It's Ryan and me. This is how they drag you out onto the jet boat. At the back, they kind of haul you up by your shoulder straps. That's what they decided was the best. And I think this is me going in. I don't know if it's me getting rescued. which was also a little bit hectic because again you're kind of throwing the wing off the back trying not to get towed.
So you've got a life jacket on there.
We'll get to life jackets as well. No, I didn't in this case. At this point it's still a foam harness, but it had kind of saturated, so the buoyancy of the harness wasn't really a big problem.
It wasn't something.
No, but I'll show you in a second what like a dry foam harness is doing. So me and Ryan had a great time. We both got to do like an in-water rescue, which was cool. And that's the jet ski. The jet ski, they worked out, it's pretty crowded and you're kind of still in the water while you're getting towed back to base. So I think most likely the jet boat is going to be the one that's the one you want to come and get you. Here is, very briefly, one of the guys with that same foam harness on, but it's fairly dry at this stage. So the back protector is a big foam block. An airbag, like a filled airbag, would behave pretty similarly. He's actually got on a PFD life jacket, one of the self-inflating ones. I think it was 170 newtons, which is like kind of the standard that you would have on boats and things. And it basically did nothing while he was in the harness. So you can see at the start, he was just lying there, face down in the water with it fully inflated, and it doesn't turn you back over. So the harness naturally wants to turn you face down, and a standard life jacket does not actually turn you back up at all. It doesn't even turn you sideways for air. It's actually, if anything, a nuisance while you're still in the harness. Having deployed one when I was in the water on my SOV after an intentional deployment, I was sweet, and then once the PFD went off, I just couldn't move my arms really. I just had to wait for the boat to get me out. So that was one of the big and interesting findings from playing around with this stuff, is that if you're still in your harness, like deploying the PFD is not actually helpful, it's probably a hindrance. So kind of where we got to on that is, well, you want one, but you want to be able to activate it when you want, and that's after you've cleared your harness and swum away. The reason it's still a good idea, not just because maybe you're not a strong swimmer, but the other factor that the guys really wanted to talk about is how cold the water is at Christchurch. It ranges from dangerously cold at the height of summer through to very dangerously cold, apparently, according to the standard that the lifeguard guys are talking about. So in reality, even if you're a strong swimmer, if you go in, you've got maybe 10 minutes before you're going hypothermic, and at that point, if you're out of your harness and got the PFD inflated, then that's going to help. So on that note, here's one of the guys again just flailing, trying to keep himself balanced in the harness. It's kind of possible, but it is a lot of effort to stay upright when you've got a back protector. Again, that's really for the foam style and the sealed off inflated airbags. When I landed in the water on my airbag with the ram air style, so thinking like Wani Light 2s, Converses, that kind of stuff, the back protector actually filled with water and I was sitting there pretty happily. So if you were going to crash into the ocean, being on one of those harnesses is a good choice, I guess. But if you're on one of the others, then you're going to have issues. So, the guys at Sumner Rescue did put together basically their learnings from the day, which was cool. They definitely got quite a lot back out of it and really enjoyed it. I don't think normally they've got 20 odd staff kicking around on the weekends, so there was a lot of interest. So yeah, again, in the water that we're dealing with, like 10 minutes, you're in a lot of strife. They're saying their response time is probably 20 to 25 minutes. We know with the serious incident from last year, I think it was 30 minutes from the time the pilot went in through to being fished out and that was a very, very quick response time. They are good, but there's a limit to how quick they can be. So they're expecting us to be severely hypothermic by the time they get us out. And they're bringing, they know that their standard hook knives and things don't actually work that well on our gear, so they're trying to get some sharper stuff to help us. Down here you can kind of see the order of things they care about. Again, that their boats are not dead is higher up the list than pilot being alive, and that's higher up the list than pilot being alive once they're back to safety as well. So worth bearing in mind that if they think there's a risk to their boat, they are not going to get you. Again, their words, cold water survivability 10 to 25 minutes. What to expect on arrival: dead pilot, hypothermic pilot, exhausted pilot, injured and potentially entangled. If the water's rough, everything is worse. Yeah, so here was, they sort of decided amongst themselves that actually getting us out of the harnesses in the water was not really a goer. So yeah, they may free us from our lines, but they'll probably drag us on in harnesses. And then yeah, this is they're so concerned about hypothermia that they're bringing all of the hot stuff. They do have like a hypothermia recovery room back at their base. So like as they're going out to mission, someone else is coming into that room and turning on all the heaters. So they take the hypothermia stuff really, really seriously. They think that is a huge, huge problem for us. So actually, here's the answer to your question, Simon. So yeah, then order priority, a swimmer's going to come and try and grab us and pull us against the lines, which creates a bit of tension. Again, the issue I found in my sim and on my SOV is that you are in the water for about 2 seconds before your leg starts getting wrapped up in the lines. The swimmer being there to pull you back helped actually quite a lot, just keeping you free. But on your own, you're going to get entangled in those lines so fast. So then the second swimmer is going to come and maybe cut away your lines, and then they're going to drag you away from the canopy. If the swimmer thinks they're going to get entangled, they're not coming anywhere near you. And then they're going to try and get you on board. So yeah, again, they're really concerned about their boats. They do not want lines going to the jet units, and that's safety on their part, because if you are near a rock or coast and you lose power, then that's where you're going with the boatload of rescuers. So they're not really interested in saving us at the cost of threat to them, which is fair enough. So one of the comments that they did have from the rescue that they did last year was that they really struggled with the lines, like they really did. Part of that was because the rescue was so close to the rocks as well, that basically I think they had the jet unit cut. They weren't using the engine on that, and then they were using a jet ski and a tow line to try and keep the jet boat away from the rocks while they performed the rescue. So they didn't like that, and one of the biggest problems they were facing is they were too close to the rocks really for their own comfort. So yeah, if you are landing in the ocean, you've got some hard decisions to make. You're really far down the road of having made bad decisions, and now you've got some really tough ones in front of you. So we know that a couple of pilots have landed near the rocks and crawled out. They have discovered that getting the wing out of the water is bloody hard work. It starts loading up against you. The rescuers don't want to come and get you if you're near the rocks. So their recommendation is actually to fly out into open ocean, which is going to be fighting some instincts, I think. But that's what they want. They want you as sort of close to them as you can get in the water. That way they can come and perform a really clean rescue without the complication of being dragged onto the rocks.
But also there's that rescue time of maybe longer than what you can survive in the water. So maybe if the conditions are not that bad, maybe landing closer to the shore and trying to get out, it would be better. Because
Yeah.
you don't know who's going to call for the rescue. Hopefully somebody sees and can call, but otherwise you may be in the water for a long time, far away from the shore. So
Yeah.
I think it's a
If you just hang on to the questions, we'll 100% take some at the end. So I wrote down kind of my takeaways from the day. Yeah, if you're going into the water because of the cold factor and being in cumbage, the chances of you self-rescuing are slim, so you're probably on the rescue end of things. Again, maybe if you've made the choice to try and crash onto the rocks and the conditions aren't too bad, then maybe you can sort yourself. But if you do land out in the open water, you're going to need a rescue. That's sort of the seriousness of this, is that once you're in that, it's like you're going to have to call the rescue helicopter or something. That's sort of the level of seriousness crashing into the water is bringing. Again, the options are, I guess, try and get out, but the Coast Guard guys, if they're rescuing you, you need to be out to sea basically as far as possible for them. Realistically, if you're going in at the cliffs, it's probably because the wind has died, so hopefully you've got some glide to get clear of those hazards that stop them from fishing you out. Yeah, so the life jackets, again, being able to activate that once you're out of the harness is going to be helpful. Activating it in your harness is probably going to be actively unhelpful. So it's not just a slam dunk wearing a life jacket. Talking to Kyle, who spent some time at Lake Garda, where they routinely are wearing life jackets, he was saying that the only ones that are marginally effective are 300 Newton. I think looking at the average price of those, they're about 800 New Zealand dollars. So I don't think that's a solution most of us will be reaching for. To get out of the harness, options are maybe try and get unbuckled on the way in from what's reasonable. The general advice is don't try and jump early, because you're really bad at judging height and you might turn a water landing into a water landing with a bunch of broken bones. Once you're in the water, a hook knife's going to be helpful. Make sure it's a sharp one. We did test some and found they weren't nearly sharp enough. The ones that paragliding manufacturers seem to be selling, they're quite a hard metal body with a pair of razor blades. Those seem to work pretty well. Having said that, Ozone did just put out a notice that you need to check your hook knife is actually functioning. Again, 30 minutes is a really fast response for the lifeboats. You're in serious trouble in that water in about 10 minutes. And like Ryan said, you've got to think about whether anyone knows you're going in the water as well. We are quite visible at Taylor's Mistake, but if you're out there alone at dusk having a lovely evening saw, you've got to think about, okay, if I go in right now, what are the odds actually somebody saw that happen? And it's probably not great. I did test my hook knife in the water, even though they asked me not really to. It worked pretty well. I think trying to use it with gloves on would be a bit of a nightmare. And yeah, in these colder months, when you contact that water, if you're not wearing really warm clothes, there's a pretty good chance you're going to go immediately into a cold shock and have difficulty breathing. So my plan for me is when I'm out at the cliffs, I'm going to be there when people can see me, preferably with other pilots. I'm going to start wearing warm layers, so the guys reckoned that wool's a great start. I mean, it'd be great if everyone went out in their 4-3 wetsuits, but I don't think that's realistic. So wearing merino, wearing wool is going to help a bit. Taking a life jacket's a great idea. Again, kind of just the normal style inflating ones with a pull tag rather than activate on contact, so that you can deploy it when you want it rather than just when you have the water. A hook knife, tether it to something. I found I tied it onto my wetsuit, and when I dropped it, it was easy enough to find and get back to work. But if you're just holding it, the joke is you need to take two. The first thing you do is you pull your hook knife out, throw it away because you're going to drop it anyway, and then get your second one out. If it's tethered, that's not a problem. Yeah, again, like on the warm front, if you were a cautious person, maybe you could think about getting one of those sort of neoprene core layers. They're kind of like a singlet. I think that would go a long way to extending how long you're going to survive in the cold water. But at the very least, wool layers and maybe a jacket over the top. What to do if you find yourself in the situation of going in? So you're at the cliffs, you realise you're too low, you can't glide back to Taylor's. Personally, I'm probably going to start making my way out to a point where I can be seen by the lifeguard guys. That way I'm a little bit closer, flying away from lands. If you've got the time, phoning someone, radioing people, letting them know what's happening so that they can start the response is going to be very helpful. If you were carrying your InReach or your PLB, like hit that button. You're in serious strife. You need the rescue. Again, if you can get the harness partially undone safely, then you can have a crack at that. I think a lot of harnesses, that's basically impossible when the buckles are under load. So you got to be realistic about whether it's an option for you. I'm going to chuck my gloves off so I have a chance with my hook knife when I go in. There's a lot of discussion about what to do with the wing when you go into the water. You don't want it landing on top of you. I don't really have a good recommendation here though. I think manage the wing. You know, if it's really windy, maybe putting it back down behind you. If it's no wind, the wing will fly past you. I'm not 100% sure what the right move is there. After that, I'll be cutting myself free from the harness with my very sharp hook knife that I've tested at home, trying to get away from the glider and the harness, and then I'll activate my life jacket, and then pray the guys come and get me. And that I think is about as good as a water rescue can go from a paraglider's perspective. Ryan, would you like to add thoughts or anything? What would you do differently? What would you take away?
Well, so pretty much all that you said, but it's just that rescue time is going to take a bit of a long time. So initially they said try fly out as far away from the land as possible so they can rescue you. But you do also have to make that call, and sometimes you're not going to have the choice because you're going to probably try to scratch your way up. So you're probably going to end up landing close to shore. So yeah, making that choice maybe early. If you think you're going to go in, try fly out, or if it's really light conditions, like there's no swell or very little, I would probably personally try and land closer to the shore so I could get myself out, because I think I would stand a better chance rescuing myself than relying on that 20-minute, 30-minute.
Yeah.
But that's I don't know. So they told us all this, and then maybe a couple of days later. Is it Jeff? Jeff phoned me, and then he said, "Oh, maybe we've been thinking about this. Maybe you should land closer. Just you got to make that call."
Yeah.
So I think they're maybe on the same page. Not just it's not just my opinion there.
And I guess it does come down to, it depends on the conditions, what you've got available to you, what you think you can pull off with your skill level.
Yeah.
And then it's hard choices. I don't think any of these answers are good answers.
But
you're in trouble.
Yeah, so I landed when I was very new to flying, maybe the first week of my PG2, after getting my PG2, I landed on the shore of the beach, and my wing went into the water, and there was a bit of a swell, not even crazy, and I couldn't get free. I had to brace against the rock and hold on the Ds, because it was dragging me inside the ocean. So it is really it doesn't take much to pull you in, and trying to get a wing out of the water yourself is so hard. It takes so much time. You stretch everything. So yeah, it is you got to keep that in mind too. That you swimming with a wing is going to be really difficult. So yeah. I don't know. So yeah, if it's light conditions, maybe you want to be closer, but yeah, it's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
And as Bevan said, don't have the answers there. But,
I think at this point, Ryan Tuffnell will probably be screaming somewhere like, there were other options. Yeah, you know, like watching out for the shifts and the winds, being aware of the forecast, flying with more experienced people, keeping an eye on them. These are all good ideas. We can still get caught out. And there was definitely a string of them. So I guess the information's there now, because obviously we are making the errors. And yeah, no, I think on the whole though, on the positive side, like, we had a good time.
Yeah, it was really interesting and really fun. Yeah.
And the guys were really nice, really cool. Not annoyed about helping paragliders get out of the water at all. They were really friendly, and keen to have another go sometime in the future.
Yeah, I think they're super keen to get more people, like maybe less captains, but more of their Coast Guard team involved, and also maybe some training for other Coast Guards around New Zealand, just because there's other paragliding sites that are quite coastal.
Well, one thing they did offer that I don't know if anyone will take up, but if you've got an old harness or something and you want to have the experience of how hard it is to sit in it when you're in the water, they said you're more than welcome to come down to the boat ramp at Sumner and jump in on a calm day, because they'll be able to see you, and if you're in serious strife, they'll come and get you. They were all for that. I don't know how many people are going to take their nice XC harness and dunk it in the ocean, but the offer's on the table if anyone wants to take it up.
Yeah, and also like what Bevan said, just keeping an eye on the conditions so you don't end up in that situation in the first place. So if you have any like suspicions, like maybe you see a storm cloud in town or something, then maybe it's time to go land. At least just think about it. And
questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, if you free yourself of your harness and you're in the water, if they have any recommendations, like try to swim so you get warm for swimming, or stay still so you preserve heat, anything?
I'm probably going outside my lane with half-baked internet advice, but the advice I saw on the website that was describing the sort of cold water conditions, they were saying that swimming around just randomly is just a good way to get tired and cold. So yeah, again, you're in a real position. If you've freed yourself and you think you can safely swim to shore, you back yourself for that. That's probably what I would do. Equally, if you're pretty confident that the rescue's on the way, maybe staying put's a better option. I don't know, bad choices,
but
all of them.
Yeah, this is where a life jacket actually really helps, is if you have a life jacket, it increases your chance of survival by a whole lot, because you can keep a lot warmer. If you're swimming around, you're exposing your body to a lot more water, and water's quite, thermo. It's going to take away a lot of heat. So if you have a life jacket and you're staying floating, you can conserve a lot more heat by tucking in. But yeah, if you're close to the shore, swim to the shore. But if you don't have a life jacket, you're going to drown if you're not treading water. So
to me, just swimming in circles seems like the perfect, most efficient way to lose all your heat, because you're just running fresh cold water past yourself in a continuous loop. So engineering background suggests that'd be the fastest way to die.
Yeah. So I think if you did have a life jacket, that might help a lot there.
Any other questions? Oh, one for her.
That after you land in the water, you're going to cut yourself free.
Yeah.
What are you cutting? Are you cutting your lines? Are you cutting your risers?
I think I didn't get to have a go, which is one of the things I'd really like to have a go on next time if they let me. I think I would start with the lines and then try and kick away in the harness a bit, and then start freeing myself from the harness, because they're around my leg like 3 wraps in about 10 seconds. Like, it was really shockingly quick. So in my mind anyway, cutting those, and the good hook knives, they can cut 3, 4, 5 lines at a time, I swear. Or the risers that potentially go through the risers. But that'll get you hopefully away from the entanglement, hopefully.
Was there any wind at that point when you got tangled that quick? Or was
Nah,
it just calm?
just happens. Yeah, no, it was perfect conditions. Like the water was like, and there was no wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually slack in the lines that
Yeah.
lets it wrap. So maybe if the wind was pushing it away, you might be a bit less entangled, but maybe a bit more worried about the rocks.
Yeah, I didn't actually get tangled in when I jumped in, but the guy grabbed me pretty quick and pulled me away from the
Yeah.
glider. So
Yeah.
so maybe I did get a wrap, but I was able to kick it off with my foot. So I
Yeah.
didn't actually have any lines on myself. But yeah, he had practice on Bevan, and you could see it from the boat that Bevan was in the lines already.
So the lines just sunk down straight away? Did they stay on the top whatsoever?
Oh, kind of just like there, you know, like they're still tied to you, and there's a sort of inflated wing over here, and they're just kind of in the water at sort of perfect ankle height. That was my experience anyway. I imagine, especially with the harness trying to turn you over, and you're probably thrashing around, it could be even quicker. Yep.
You said you're discussing lines and rises. Would you not just go straight for the harness?
I think, yeah, why not? But then you'll cut the lines to get your feet out. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm thinking about like what you were saying about like phoning people or flying away. I reckon if
Yeah.
I was at the cliffs and I got to a point where I was suddenly realised that I wasn't going to make a landing, I probably got 10 to 15 seconds before I hit the water. I've got long enough to make a radio call, but the only harness I'd be able to get out of would be a school harness.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, we didn't
no
get to
way
play
I'd
with
get out.
pods, and I think
Yeah.
pods will be a bit of a nightmare.
Especially lightweight pods with round Kevlar lines. Not, you won't even get those through a hook knife, or you might, but it's going to take time to cut
Yeah.
a cord, like a dynamic cord.
Yeah, no, it'll go through Dynamo pretty nicely. Don't know about the Kevlar straps. I
Yeah.
haven't played with that. But the Dynamo parted really nicely, and the thicker Kevlar lines went just fine as well.
Okay.
But that's all I've really attempted.
Yeah.
Kyle, did you?
No, it's just some of the webbing on the harnesses are just too thick.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. That
Yeah.
like the cords are what 6 mil, 5-6 mil thick. So you got to have a hook knife that's big enough to get that through
Yeah.
the throat of the knife.
Yeah. 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 It doesn't sound great, does it?
No,
Yeah.
just don't ignore it.
Yeah, great idea.
Oh, heard a similar anecdotal story of someone, like an instructor, landing in slightly more than ankle deep water, and people were laughing at him as he got dragged out to sea,
Yeah.
and they suddenly realised that he wasn't able to walk out of the sea. So,
Yeah.
kind of that margin between beach and behind the breakers seems like a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, like I think on the balance, unless I think I was going to land on land and put the wing on land, I'd probably jump in the water for safe distance. Because, yeah, like my experience of being in swell near rocks is that you get cheese grated on the rocks, and that's without paraglider attached to me. And I think I'm an okay swimmer.
Your option, fly towards the surface, already helps.
Yeah, potentially,
Someone's
if you're at
in danger,
Taylor's.
surface always they help.
Yeah,
Someone's in danger.
I think that's not a bad shout. Yeah, that comes down to, again, the tough decisions. Do you try and fly back around to Sumner, where they've got better resources to get out to you on the boats? The Coast Guard guys were kind of saying that the rescue at Sumner it's a bit more ad hoc. It's more like summer days and stuff like that. So the response of getting somebody down to the rib at Taylor's rather, and then out to you is going to be quite slow. They reckon they would be around to Taylor's before the Sumner Life Saving Club would be able to organise, if they're at home. If they're in the building, they'll get there first. But if it's just a phone call kind of situation, then the Coast Guard guys are pretty slick. They reckon from getting the call to that big boat in the water, everyone at home is about 8 minutes. So they're pretty good. It was really cool actually watching like how professional, how quick they were, how seriously they were taking like the drill side of it. Yeah, no, it was quite comforting in that sense, even knowing that 15 minutes is a problem.
Do you think another option would be to undo your speed bar and then unhook your risers and unhook yourself completely to once you're
Potentially.
when you're going down, maybe to undo your speed bar lines,
You could have a go, yeah,
and then
once you're in the one-arm club.
It's almost
Yeah.
impossible to get the risers out of the carabiners. You need to
I think
unload the carabiner to get the riser out.
I think that's what
So
Ron's
it's really
saying.
hard.
Is like once you've landed, maybe
Yeah.
trying to hook out. Yeah, I think that's a good option. If you've got the bandwidth for it, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like that wouldn't work for me because my speed bar is tied on. Like it's so I wouldn't be able to get my speed bar free. But I was thinking like how I would get out of my harness, and my harness is like pretty good, but you can actually slip the shoulder straps off and then push it down past you. There's a pod harness, which seems like a design flaw, but it could be handy in this situation.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, it's obviously you're sitting in it, so you can't fall out unless you dive through it somehow. But yeah, I think that's what I would go for.
I think the so what have we had before? We've actually had 5 water landings in the past few years. So we've had one in the water, very close to drowning. In fact, he said he'd given up and was accepting he was going to drown when the lifeboat got to him. And even then, he was pretty sick. It was touch and go getting him into hospital. There was so the other ones all landed close to rocks and self-rescued. There was
that was me.
You got a line tangled.
Yeah.
And a bystander helped out.
And I was very lucky. Yeah.
So that I wouldn't land near the rocks if I didn't have a hook knife. There was one who landed near the rocks with you and got out without tangling. There was one landed over by the Boulder Bay, and he managed to get his carabiners off, so he got out in his harness, but lost the wind stay behind. And then the other one was a self-rescue. Got both himself and the harness out, but wrecked the wing. So I don't know. If it was rough at all, I would not be going anywhere near the rocks or the surf zone. But yeah, sure. Like I say, you've got 10 seconds, you're going to be under intense pressure. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you shouldn't be getting yourself into that situation anyway.
I think that's the best.
I think it's we should all be trying not to go into the water, but then 5 people have.
Yeah, exactly.
After pushing the margins, and they know it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it should be 0.
Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, it does.
But the reality is it's happening.
Sometimes you get hit by an airplane.
That was really good.
Thanks. Yeah,
Thanks.
happy to wrap it up there.
And like
With the phone numbers,
Yes.
we've got 2 cell phone numbers. Is it quicker to ring 111 or their cell phone number for the response?
I have the Coast Guard guy's number. I'd be giving that a ring. I think kind of like we're doing 0508 now, both. So that 111 seems to have some kind of authorization thing they can give away, but you could be like, hey Jeff, it's happened again. Can you get the boys ready? We're talking to 111 as well. Something like that.
So
would be
probably
my
ring the
approach.
cell phone number first, then probably 111.
Yeah, I think we
There's
have
2 cell phone numbers.
a number. Maybe we can, safety officer can check in and get the
yeah, so
best number.
I'll check whether it's the one they've given us. They've given us 2 before, which are the head and his deputy.
Oh yeah.
Probably for the Sumner Life Saving, not the Briscoe.
No, we've got 4 numbers if you include tails.
Yeah. I mean, I think the point about tailors and the Sumner one is that they are not full-time, whereas the Sumner lifeboat is full-time.
Yeah.
And we've had variable results, so we've called 111 and then no response until someone called the Sumner lifeboat. And we've also tried to call the Sumner lifeboat and not been able to get hold of them and gone through, I can't remember, it was 111 or 05 or 08. So try and do both is my advice.
Those 2 cell phone numbers that were up last time we had a chat, I presume they're the correct ones, although they were taken down due to the fact that the issue between 111 and 0508, because I don't know if Brian is still sorted out.
Yeah, so the 0508 versus 111 is a separate issue.
Yeah.
So the 2 cell phone numbers, they're the ones that, as we understand it, go straight to the head of the Sumner lifeboat. So if it's a water incident, go to them, but also call the 0508.
And 111. Get them all going. Why not?
Yeah, like, you know,
Let it all out.
yeah. So I just really want to express my appreciation to you guys. Well, both, first of all, to Glenn and Dave for doing the organising. I'd had it on my list and I just didn't get around to it, so I really appreciate you guys stepping up.
Yeah, thanks for letting us do
And
it.
to you guys for going along on the day. That was really great effort, and I think everyone in the club really appreciates what you've done. So thanks. And now we've got Kyle. Kyle on that at the moment. We all know him as a paraglider, but obviously he's also been involved in the very impressive effort of putting Zephyr together. So, he's going to talk us through the history of it and just a few of the features and some of the advanced features. Is that right? And some of the potential development.
Exactly. Yeah. So kind of
Cool.
3 or 4 sessions there. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Bevan and Ryan, for going out on that day to get in the water. It is pretty sobering, and hopefully we never have to use any of those skills, but it definitely seems to be quite relevant. But now on to something a little bit more lighthearted and something that maybe you guys will find interesting and also somewhat relevant, since we do use this quite a lot. Jonas here has been nice enough to put together these slides for me, so enjoy. So it's good to see so many familiar faces, but for those of you who don't know, I am Kyle and I made Zephyr. And so the original problem that we were trying to solve here was to aggregate weather station data. So as you know, a few years ago, to get any kind of overview of what was happening, you had to go through 20 different websites and find data from so many different sources, different interfaces, different timing intervals, and it definitely just wasn't the most convenient option. And so having something in one place seemed like a pretty obvious thing to do. And actually, overseas, there's already quite a few solutions like this. So like spotting was maybe over in the Alps. And it clearly isn't like a particularly original idea, but getting the data is the hard part, as opposed to actually making the interface. And before starting development on Zephyr, there were already a couple of local options out there as well. So Windaloo, Windy, Livewind.nz. Don't know if you guys use any of those, but I think they were all pretty much out of duty by the time I started looking at this, and no one was really looking after it anymore. So yeah, again, to kind of reiterate, the idea and the aim of this was just to get everything together into one place for one source of truth, so you didn't have to look into multiple different sources, to help improve safety by giving people more information in a more easy to digest way, to provide an intuitive way to use and access the data that didn't need a degree to dig through all the diagrams and the tables like some of the websites out there. And finally, to just continuously improve the application through feedback as well. So on the 10th of March, 2 years ago now, that's when this took off actually. So I was making this kind of in a testing preview environment, and then someone from the NZHGPA actually jumped the gun and just started posting about it. So I had to quickly put it all together, clean it up a bit, and put it out. So you can see my message actually went out the day after the NZHGPA posted about it. I think that was Nick. And from the beginning, you can see it has changed a little bit over the years. So from some of the colors, some of the icons, even some of the shapes and things, the features around. So when it launched, we only really had the session view on the map. We had some webcams, I think, at the beginning, but then I started adding more things like the soundings layer, the live grid view, and just extending things as it goes. And I know like I wasn't the best at kind of making it known what I was working on, so sometimes randomly the interface would change or a new feature would pop up.
What's a scraper?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I guess like the technology behind how this works, like without getting too technical, is I have a service that just goes and reads a bunch of data from a bunch of publicly accessible sources and just puts it all together into one place. So it is a very common way to kind of gather data that's publicly accessible online. Yeah, so just more of the same, just adding things and things changing over time. And we'll get through to an interactive demo later to walk through more of these features.
Where's Pub Corner?
Oops. That is at the Taylor's takeoff, the TC takeoff. So yeah, so that was actually one of the first stations to go up because I was living in Wanaka at the time, and yeah, it's definitely the most relevant in this case. It's a good name though, for sure. Now some of the people involved, obviously myself, and Louis was there right from the beginning as well. And his role kind of was to push this whole idea. Like he actually put me in touch with a few of the people around, and he put me onto some of these existing websites like How Windy and some of these. And he kind of just got the ball rolling, got the motivation going. And he's definitely been quite good at, yeah, I guess communicating. And I'll talk about this a little bit later as well, but he also connected me with people from PureTrack, from SkySight, from Navigator as well for some integrations. And recently this guy, James, who is based in Queenstown, I think, he jumped on board to give me a hand with some of the UI development, and he's written a little bit of code for me, which has been quite good. Jonas, of course, being like my PR guy, he's made a bunch of merch, made my slides. He definitely talks about Zephyr a lot. It almost feels like advertising, but as I think Simon or someone said the other day, like, it's, yeah, I mean, you can't really put me out of business if there's no business to begin with. And finally, yeah, wherever he's gone, has recently jumped on and started developing some new features as well. So it's been quite good to see some fellow pilots with a certain set of skills kind of jump on board and work on this community project, which again is the whole point of this app. Like, it was all for the community, it was all for my own kind of learning and development. It was never to try to get anything out of it, really. So it's really good to see everyone using it and appreciating it. Yeah, so a little bit of, I guess, behind the scenes, some of the work. I put in probably over 500 hours of my own time into this, just over the last couple of years. So like, in all sorts of places, if I find bugs or someone reports something wrong, I will just jump on the laptop and work. I think this was in Manila, actually. Some cross-country flying, get home at the end of the day, I see an email, so I jump online and start working. And so yeah, now we've got over 500 weather stations, not a lot of webcams, but we can always add more. A lot of data sources, so 48 in this case, which in the past you would have had to go to 48 different websites. So that's kind of the value that you can see it start to add. And we've actually added some sites in our site guide as well, so I don't know, for those who don't know, I can walk through some of that later as well. So it's definitely quite a lot of data on the website now, and Jonas did a great job doing a lot of the data entry for that. And some interesting insights actually is I've got some analytics running. I've got over 2,000 people using this every month, and most of whom are not paraglide pilots, which has been like quite interesting. So I do have a contact form on the website, and I do get like feedback from random people like boat skippers, drone operators, obviously other wind sports like kite surfers and things, just other outdoor enthusiasts. And like I never would have expected, so many random people to use it. And yeah, you can see how that's kind of been growing over time as well, with a few spikes here and there for whatever reason. But yeah, it's quite interesting. It's definitely grown a little bit bigger than I ever expected. And again, some kind of interesting events that Jonas has captured over the years. is like looking at something that's quite relevant to us. Like when you see gust fronts pushing through, look how quickly it can change. So that's reading from Ellendale, I think a couple of years ago, almost. And just from looking at the stations alone, like obviously it's a very limited scope. But yeah, you can see how quickly it can change like that. And I think one of the windiest days ever recorded while the site was active is gusting over 250 k's an hour somewhere in Wellington, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, I think we all remember that period like about 6 months ago. It's pretty gnarly. Yeah, and again, like talking about some more interesting statistics. Apparently, Auckland has the largest user base. I'm guessing mostly non-pilots, just random people, and Auckland, I guess, being the biggest city, that kind of makes sense. Christchurch being close second, which is cool. And there's also been, like, I guess, some interesting stats in what stations and what pages get viewed the most as well. And you notice, like, the first page of this is pretty much just all the stations around the Queenstown Basin. So I'm guessing that's probably like Star Trek and G-Force who are running their tandem ops there. So it's nice to see that they're using it quite heavily as well. But Taylor's is up there as well on the front page, which is cool.
That's kind of 2100, kind of.
Sorry?
That's more than 2100.
Yeah, I don't know how they like collate their stats. It must be like 2100 is like after eliminating duplicates or whatever, and then it does some other calculations. I'm not really sure how that works. Yeah.
So there's more people in Prebbleton using it than there are in Queenstown.
Yeah, apparently. Right? And it's also funny that it like characterizes that as a different like city or whatever. Yeah, I was pretty surprised to be honest that like Queenstown and Wanaka was so low down the list.
Yeah.
It's it's quite interesting.
It doesn't quite tell you with the stations that are being checked, does it?
Yeah, exactly, right? Because I guess like the number of users who are checking these stations are probably like 20.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole Panama. So yeah, exactly. But I suppose probably what drives those bigger numbers are just the fact that they're cities, right? And there's just like random people who are using these. And I have actually heard from some other like non-flying friends who are into outdoors. They're like, oh yeah, Zephyr, I've heard of that. I'm like, okay, that's like quite random. Cool, yeah. So yeah, definitely not expected, but it's nice to see that kind of that people are using it really. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that there's been some integrations. So if you use SkySide Navigator or PureTrack, you'll see they have added layers for the live wind as well. So for however useful you might find that. And Ian down at Skytrack, he's actually working on an integration for Garmin watches as well. So that's something to kind of look out for that may come out in the future. And I guess the kind of use case and the value in that is, say you're flying somewhere like Taylor's, where you're not really going anywhere, just sticking around one place, instead of having your instruments in front of you, which you may not have. And if you have a compatible Garmin watch, you can just glance at it and see what's happening with the wind, which is pretty cool. I think he's on holiday at the moment, but when he gets back, he should be able to do a bit more work on this. And finally, XE-Track. If you use XE-Track on your Android device, you can actually put Zephyr in it as well. I think you might have to pay for like the pro version. That's like a couple of euros a month, but you can basically just embed a web page and put it in. And that way, instead of messing around, taking your phone out and looking when you're flying cross country, you can just swipe and have it on your instrument. So yeah, I guess more relevant when you're flying cross country, but still pretty useful to have. And on the hardware side of things, I'm not really too involved with this, but there are some people around the country that I've been talking to, because obviously it's quite relevant. So Mark McDonald up in the Waikato and Mike Christensen in Wellington are actually building like homemade weather stations, which is pretty cool. And Bevan is helping me try to get some for the club as well.
You're trying to help me.
All that. So like for reference, Mike, because he lives in Wellington, Wellington is a club of 50 people and they've got 9 weather stations. We're a club of like, 400 members, and we have 2.5 if you include Pokemon. So there's definitely a bit of value in these. And I think after talking to Mark, one of these stations only goes for, the parts go for like $130 a pop, and he can assemble them for like $200, and then you have to have your own anemometer as well. But like altogether, $400 for a station is really not a lot. And then, with a SIM card that lasts for like 10 years as well.
Is that mechanical or mechanical?
What do you mean?
Is
the
it spin
anemometer.
blades or it's like the one TARDIS but it's non-mechanical?
Yeah, so that's separate. Like the station is say $200, and then if you want to buy a ultrasonic anemometer, you can get cheap ones from EcoWit, and they're like $170 or something. And you can get the Davis ones as well with the spinning thing,
Yeah.
but I think they're a little bit more expensive. But they're supposed to be a bit more accurate. So yeah, if there's a big difference, then maybe it's worth going down that path. But it's cool to see that, yeah, it's not really this massive cost that the club has to face regularly. And like I say, there's literally no operating costs. It's just you plug the SIM card in and it's got enough data to last for 10 years. So it's nice to see there's some people around, again, in the free-flying community who are putting in the work to put this kind of stuff
Do
together.
you know how long they last by chance or not?
I guess they haven't been around long enough to really
Yeah.
test. But I think Mark's got like 40 stations up around the country already, and they've been around for a couple of years, so not heaps of time, but in the last couple of years he said he hasn't really had any major issues with them. So like, as long as they're set up correctly, they just work. Of course, again, the anemometer is a different component of the weather station.
Are they Hoi compatible or not?
Well, Hopefully is the weather station, and so this is its own like substitute for that. So it would be working on completely different.
We'll be looking at it on Zephyr, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can host as well.
No, so I don't actually host the data. I could probably add integration for that, because at the moment I only get data, I don't receive data.
Right.
That is a bit of a difference. So Mark, he set up his own server to receive data from the stations, and then he puts it out to Windy actually, and then I pull it from Windy. So there's a couple of steps which we could simplify, but at least like it does work, which is pretty cool. And Shane Galloway, I wanted to mention him as well, because he's also been involved in handling some of the harvest stations down in the Queenstown area too. So yeah, it's cool to see people in the community working on these, and hopefully we can get some of these on hand to play around with.
Yeah, they've got them in Nelson, I understand.
Yeah, so I would say more than half the clubs have Mark's stations already. So Auckland, Nelson, Tasman, Southern, Waikato, that's 5 clubs have it. Wellington has Mike's ones. So I guess 6 clubs have homemade stations, and they've got quite a few of them. Yeah, like I said, probably almost 40 of them. And here we are with our 2 Hopefully stations that never quite work right. It probably costs like triple what these ones do as well. But of course, like I guess that's the difference between getting a homemade solution versus a.
Yeah, the one at Taylor's, that's about 11 years old now, right?
Yeah.
So it's really done, it's gone beyond its use by now.
Sure,
So
which is fair enough.
we'll notice a little bit of hiccup every so often,
Yeah.
but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean it's not as bad as you might expect.
His big grandfather's axe, though.
Yeah.
He's 11 years old, but none of the components.
Still looks okay.
Yeah, exactly, right. You replace everything over the years. Is it even the same original? Right. Yeah, so I thought I'd run through a little bit of a tutorial as well. I just have to grab my phone for this. But there's quite a few, like, I guess I can call them semi-advanced features where I would say most people are probably not aware of. So I think it'd be quite cool to just walk people through and see, see if you can learn anything. So I don't know if you can see that. Sorry?
Maybe turn the lights.
Yeah, that could help.
May help.
Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that from here. Is it full screen? I'm pretty bad at it. Okay. Let me see if I can do something. If it's
Kyle, I don't think that's making it any bigger. You're just using fewer pixels.
Yeah, exactly. This looks like better on my laptop than on that.
Maybe just pass your laptop round.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, you can kind of see it, right?
Yeah.
You can see the shapes of the icons and things, so I guess
You
that's
can
good.
pull out your own phones and
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, you can follow it along. So, yeah, okay, obviously we've got the station view, which is the, I guess, just the day-to-day usage. And first I'll just quickly talk through all these icons on the map. So starting from the top right, down, pretty self-explanatory. You click on the top right one, you allow location permissions, and it will eventually pop you to where you are. We've got a little unit selector, so you can change between kilometers an hour and knots, and all of these settings are remembered if you close it and come back as well. You can change the map layout to satellite topo, if that's helpful. And this one is a little bit more advanced. There's a little station filter as well. I was actually asked to do this by some kite surfers. So you can filter stations either above and or below a certain elevation. So say you only want to see stations below, I don't know, like 300 meters. You can do that as well. So I guess that way if you have a more zoomed out view, you've got less clutter on the screen. So maybe some people might find that useful. And then on the top bar here, we've got webcams. So like I say, there's not a lot around, but around Christchurch I have added a few. So like we can look at our Taylor's webcam. And I guess something that is kind of useful of having the webcams here on Zephyr is a lot of the sources, they don't like allow you to go back. So if you wanted to see what happened that day or how busy it was or something, you can actually scrub back and see. I think the internet has a form, but pretty self-explanatory again. And you can do the same for sounding, which I'll get to. And of course I've got a little search bar where you can search for stations, you can search for sites, you can search for webcams, like that, for example. And before I get into the menu and this little bell icon here, I'll just talk through the actual station view. So within here you've got obviously the windrows and we can't really see it up there, but you've got the wind direction indicator, the current average, current gust, the temperature, and of course the grid and the graphs to go back. And at the bottom here you can see we've added a couple of these little sub-menus. You can see nearby webcams and sites as well, and also just choose the kind of timescale you want to look at. And something that is definitely not very obvious that's related to this is if you look at sites or stations around popular sites, I've actually increased the refresh frequency for these. So if you scroll through the graph, you can actually see that it reads every 2 minutes. And the table displays averages. So sometimes you might see like the current average reading doesn't match up to the 10-minute average, and that's because that's an instantaneous reading versus an average reading. So it is correct. It's more precise, but it just might look a little bit strange. So yeah, everything around popular areas I've tried to kind of push the station's refresh rate, whereas like just normal stations, they will only be reading every 10 minutes. That's kind of the resolution that we're dealing with. Okay, and now into this menu here. This is kind of where a lot of this more hidden functionality is defined, so I'll slow down a little bit. But a lot of you might not have seen this little stations and sites toggle. So you can actually toggle between a stations layer and a sites layer. You can show one at a time. And how I've tried to do this is the white circles with supposed to be a Kia inside are like takeoffs, and the black circles with what's supposed to be a Kiwi inside are the landings. And of course with the orange things being the applicable directions for those sites. So this is quite cool because it's again like an aggregation of a bunch of data that is available out there, but not easily accessible necessarily. And there's a lot. Jonas has spent many hours of his life trawling through the WhatsApp groups, trawling through Instagram, geo-guessing to try to find a bunch of these random sites. Like you look through here and I guarantee you will not know, even have heard of half of these places. Because I know I haven't. Like on the West Coast, in the most random places. But for the kind of sites with official guides, I've tried to highlight them with a bit of a gold border as well. And when you click into them, there's a lot more information. But before I do that, I'll show you that there is also a direction filter here. So you can show filters for certain directions. So this is really useful if you're traveling or if you know someone who is a visiting pilot and you have a certain forecast for a certain day and you want to make some plans. That can be quite useful for that.
So sorry, that only picks up stations with a certain wind direction, or what?
This is this is for sites,
Right.
like Taylor's Mistake, Annandale, things like that. And so this filter is just the filter based on the takeoff direction for that site. So say we change it to an easterly, you can see like Taylor's shows up for that, Scarborough Cliff shows up for that,
Right, so this is the desired wind.
Yeah, or like the forecast wind or whatever it is. So that way you can again kind of filter down and reduce some of the clutter on the
So what comes up for the northwest?
That's a good question, eh? Let's have a look. Apparently Mount Herbert, and is that the Gondu? John Britton and John Britton, there you go, yeah. That's a good question though, it is interesting though. Like, this is what I mean, just having all this data together, even if it doesn't necessarily provide instantaneous value to you, it's just kind of interesting to have a look at. So a lot of these West Coast sites are theoretically Northwest sites as well, which is, it's cool. It's always cool to have data, right? Okay, so now drilling down, if we look into one of these sites, so say our favorite site here, you can see a lot of information here, but first and foremost will be a link to the official guide if that's available. And for these kind of official sites, I've tried to slim down the descriptions as much as possible because I do understand things do change quite a lot. So if access changes or permissions change, we just want to refer to the official guide for that. But we can have different notices and things on here as well. Obviously, we put some images here, which is quite cool, and the same kind of nearby stations, nearby webcams. And you can see that we've got linked landings on here as well, so you can kind of go to where the associated landing is for that site. And yeah, you can see here, we can have some of these notices. So red is for like important stuff, orange is for things you need to watch out for. More pictures, more descriptions. Pretty self-explanatory. You can also click on this link here to navigate there in Google Maps. So all in all, just trying to make for like a smooth, intuitive experience. And of course, the wind direction goes at the top there as well. And what else can we look at? Yeah, so Jonas has put some of these images off the club website onto here as well, just to have things in a kind of aggregated location. Okay, and the next thing we can talk about is back to the stations view, is we can look at some of this historical data that I've added support for a little while ago, and I think Bevan actually was the first to ask for this. And yeah, don't know if anyone uses this, but the idea is it's interesting to look back on a day to see, maybe something strange happened, maybe something interesting happened, maybe bombed out, just to see kind of how the wind changed. So you can scrub through the last 7 days at half-hour intervals, and yeah, just see how things have changed. And you can almost use this like as a bit of a live playback as well. Like if you just click through it, you can see what's happening around the country. And it's quite interesting at a macro level when like you've got a front coming through to see all the stations line up in one direction. I find it quite satisfying. Yep, that's that. And then next, we've got this live grid view that I referenced before. So again, this is more for like a cross-country, like in-flight integration. Rich Binstead actually asked for this right near the beginning. And the idea is that if you kind of know the area and you kind of know the names of the stations, when you're flying, if you put this on your instrument, you can just see everything within 50 k's at a glance without having to pan through the map, without having to dig into any detail pages. Of course, the downside being you have to know where these stations actually are. But yeah.
So sorry, that just takes a radius.
Yeah, so it's a 50k radius around your current position. Yeah. And so as you move, that updates every minute as well. Definitely
Do you have a height of per station? So you're not sure where that station is, but you can see how high it is.
Sure, yeah. No, that's a good bit of feedback. I can definitely implement that. So actually, I'll get to that at the end as well. I'll just ask you guys for any feedback and any suggestions. So thank you. But yeah, certainly it's a little bit more limited in the usefulness of just flying around the coast, but it is there for if you need it. Next we've got the soundings layer, which much like the webcams just puts all these RASP soundings updated daily onto the map, which is actually quite good because if you use RASP at all, you know how hard it is to use their website. There's just links everywhere. And also this actually gives you a geolocation of where all these places are. Otherwise you kind of just have to know, where is Christchurch Airport? But yeah, of course you can click in and scrub through all the soundings for that day as well. So yeah, if you use Rasp, that can be a little bit more convenient maybe. The help page, as you know, would be the first page that you get to. There is actually this little hidden feature here, which is not really for everyday usage, but I do store data from when I launched the site. So any station that I had added, since it's been added, I've kept the data. And so actually for that fatal incident at Arthur's Pass last year, the safety officer, I forgot who it was. Was it you?
It was me.
Yeah, it was you, Simon. I reached out and asked for some of that data. And because I do have it all stored, that's pretty easy to do. So yeah, just like out of interest, if anyone needs any historical data, it is there, it is available. And of course there's this contact form that I talked about earlier, which just sends me an email. And there is this little like sports selector that we added a couple months ago too. And the idea of this is it just changes the colors of the icons. So let's just find somewhere where it's a bit more windy. You can see like with the default color scheme, it's kind of calibrated towards paragliding. So, you know, 40Ks is pretty red, 30Ks is getting there. But then if you want to change that to a hang gliding profile, it just changes those colors to match. And same goes for kite surfing. So even if you don't do those sports specifically, if you just want to have a different color profile, we can do it like that as well. And then finally on this menu we also have this flying mode, which Louis Tapper asked for, and that just makes the buttons bigger and it adds the zoom buttons back in onto the map. So if you're flying and you do want to use this on your phone, then you can have this. It's a little bit easier to use with gloves on or with a stylus. Just strips it down a little bit. And now finally in the bottom left corner here, there's a couple of somewhat new features. So this recent stations one has been around for a little bit, very self-explanatory, just any stations you've looked at recently pop up there. You can open and close that menu. And this feature, Theo actually worked on a couple of weeks ago. So it's brand new, and it allows you to save like a view as a favorite. So say you fly at a couple of different spots and you would like to have kind of like, let's say this zoom level saved. You can do that right here. So we can click this heart icon, we can type something, and then we can save that. And that way if I navigate away, and then I click back on that, it will take us back there. So pretty self-explanatory. And yeah, it can be quite useful if you have a few different like spots where you fly often, just to save you from having to do that every time.
So at the moment it just opens where you were the last time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the position and the zoom level.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, as it does, if you close this and come back, it would just come back to where you are. But yeah, this favorites thing just allows you to save a few of those as well. And yeah, finally, I'd like to talk about this alerts function, which is also quite new. I can't really demo it here, so there's a few photos, I think, a few screenshots in the slides. I'll just check if there's anything else I've missed. I think that's pretty much it. Right, so I'll go back to the slides for that. And so the idea behind this alert stuff is that if you're at work and you want to see when Taylor's turns on, so you can bail out early, you can get notifications straight to your phone now, so instead of just having to look at it every 5 minutes. And or like, you know, on the converse, if you are flying and you're worried that it's getting too light or too strong, you can also have an alert pop a notification up to your phone. So that's the idea behind it. Like, it's pretty new, so no one's really used it yet, and I'd like to get some more feedback about it. It'd be quite cool. So the first thing you have to do to do that is you do have to install the app as install the website as an app, which is something that a lot of you guys do already. But yeah, just very roughly on on Chrome, well, on Apple, you can do it like this. So yeah, just have a look there. And the idea is it actually adds a icon onto your homepage, and it looks like an app. It is still running through the browser, but it works pretty much like an app. And this works through Chrome and through Safari. And on Android, it's much the same. And then, so once you've done that, you can start adding alerts. So whether you go through that icon at the top of the page or through the sites themselves. So if you've done that on your phone, you should actually be able to see that icon on the top right. You can add alert. It's pretty self-explanatory. You pick the station, you pick the wind speed, and whether you want to get a notification when the wind speed crosses it going up or crosses it going down, which is depends on the use case. And of course, if you want to select a certain direction for that as well, you can add that, and you can turn it on and off. And yeah, like I say, it will pop up a notification when that condition is met. So yeah, something to play around with. Can be useful for soaring, can be useful for paragliding, and can be useful even for cross-country flying as well.
Can you do more than one alert per site?
Yes, you can actually. So yeah, if you want to get multiple notifications when it crosses 10Ks, 15Ks, 20Ks, for example.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like when it comes on and when it gets too strong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can do that. And yeah, just like a note though is that when they do get triggered, they turn off. I guess the idea behind that was you don't want to get spammed because the condition is met and now it just spams you every 10 minutes. So it does turn itself off. But I guess you only really need to get notified the once. Okay, so that's most of the, I think that's all of the interactive demo really. Do you guys have any questions about that section? John?
This is really cool. Could you add a feature in the future just to say when this site is working? Because you've put tailors there, but then we have to select the wind direction ourselves, and you have that information on the site already.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it could be pre-filled, but I guess the idea is that it does give you some customizability.
Yeah.
Because you might want to get alerts for when it's not right as well. Or,
right. Yeah.
For whatever.
Yeah, or when the Christchurch Airport goes northwest over, what's your threshold, Ross? 30 Ks?
What, for the airport?
Yeah, for the northwest.
Probably 20K.
20 Ks,
With
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so things like that. I think it can be quite useful instead of just looking at it every 10 minutes, just being able to get notified.
So that's kind of a save, they just switch off once they've triggered or at midnight.
Yeah, exactly. But they do get saved, so yeah, you can just toggle it back on. Exactly. Because and the whole midnight thing is again, I guess the idea is if that condition never got satisfied that day, you might end up getting a notification 3 days later, and you're like, what is this? Yeah, so they do reset. Yes, in the back.
Do you parse the HTML content of this website, or do you know your API and download the...
Yeah, so it depends on the sources. That's a really good question. I've tried to use APIs where available, and a lot of websites do provide them when I ask.
Yeah.
Given that it is a community-based thing, most companies or organizations don't have a problem with that. But other smaller or kind of legacy sources where I can't get in contact with anyone, I do just have to scrape their data in the brute force way. So it just depends. Yeah.
Okay.
You
Anybody
must have a bit of cost to cover there, Carl. How do you do that?
Yeah, most of it is just time, to be honest. I have found ways to try to get around some of the more expensive costs out there. But there is a little bit of ongoing cost involved, but it is mostly just my time. Like I say, in the last couple of years, I've put in over 500 hours.
Is there a donate button?
Wow, good question, Bevan. I'm glad you asked that. There is a slide at the end. We will get to that as well.
And Simon, is the club, considering the question I asked a few months ago, is the club considering donating?
Yeah, I think we talked about it at the last meeting. I think we'll talk about it again next week. Yeah.
That is much appreciated, yeah. There is a bit of again, another one of Jonas's suggestions, a bit of a leaderboard in there to see which regions have donated the most. And it's been quite funny because there was actually this guy in one of the Auckland WhatsApp groups, completely unprompted. He just took a screenshot of this leaderboard and he was like, wow, I don't mind being this far back in the leaderboard in cross-country rankings, but when it comes to this, regional contributions to something like this is unacceptable. We have to donate more. I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. Cool. Yeah, I guess a little bit more of an insight behind the kind of work that goes in where, people might just take for granted, people might not think about it at all. So just things like, the decisions on the colors and the shapes of things, the orientations of things, nothing is random. Everything has probably hours of thought behind it. And given I guess my perfectionist personality, definitely spending too many hours just tweaking the exact color and position of certain things on the website. Just seeing how things scale, like between desktops and mobiles, is a real big one as well. Seeing how like search results come up on Google, how like layers work on top of each other, the I guess order of icons and menu items, and how to make the interface as clean as possible while also having as much information as possible together. A lot of it does require more thought than you might think, and more frustration than you might think as well. But actually, what's been quite lucky is recently I started a new job, and I have suddenly got unlimited access to these AI development tools, and that has definitely helped me a lot. So I don't know if the company would be very happy about that. So that's all right. I don't use the expensive models.
So where did Zephyr come from?
I think Jonas put something in the slides at the beginning. It's kind of bullshit, but there's this thing, the god of the west wind, Zephyr. To be honest, it was just a bit random. I wanted something a little bit different, a little bit catchy, and I just like looked for some inspiration, and it was the first thing that caught my eye.
And he designed the logo.
Jonas did that as well. So my PR guy has done all the, which is quite cool. Yeah. So he's put it on all these like stickers and hats and things.
Yeah.
He's got a few stickers to give away as well. If anyone wants it. So promoting a business that's not a business.
So it will be.
Yeah.
They talk about the Zephyr breeze as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely like a wind. Some wind terminology, I guess, like some kind of wind.
It's like wind.
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, in terms of like what's kind of on the horizon.
Is that you, Jonas?
No, it's Ryan.
There's some good Easter eggs in these slides. Yeah.
Is Zephyr, is it just is it an app or is it a website?
It is just a website. It's a progressive web app. So it is a website that can be downloaded as an app through Chrome or Safari. And that seems to be kind of the direction a lot of these mobile apps are moving. So it's not through the App Store. It doesn't need to go through all those processes. And also, because development for native, so going through the app stores is quite different from developing for web. And so it's quite a bit more streamlined just doing it this way.
So what's your tech stack?
Sorry?
Your tech stack, what do you use?
I'm using React for my front end and Node Express backend Mongo for my database. So pretty, I guess, typical modern tech. Right, so some stuff that's kind of on the horizon. So right from the beginning, Louis was really pushing this idea of like predictive modeling. So it's supposed to be almost like localized forecasting. The idea was that you would take an area where you're flying. So for his context, it would be the Queenstown Basin. So around, flying the Coronet Peak, flying around that area where there's kind of a well-defined set of stations. Thank you. The idea was to basically, now that we've got the data, we can take some kind of like machine learning algorithm, run it through, and spit out very rough forecasts of like, you define a condition where it's unsafe, which is very subjective, but then the idea is that you feed enough data through this algorithm and it can predict those kind of patterns. And so I thought that was a great idea as well. Right from the beginning, I was like, Louis, that sounds great. You should find someone to do it. And right from the beginning, I said, no, I'm not interested. Because it is more of like a data science kind of job. And it is quite a big job as well. So over the last couple of years, there's actually been 3 different people who've come on board to try to help with that. And one by one, they've gone too busy or they've forgotten. And that hasn't really gone anywhere, which is pretty classic. But at least the kind of the bulk of the website in terms of the interface and usability, I can manage that, and it's not dependent on too many of these kind of things. But yeah, Louis hasn't found a lot of success in that yet, unfortunately, but hopefully one day. And more on the app side, or the website side, I'm hoping to work on making an airspace and NOTAM layer at some point, which I think would make our airspace officers' job a little bit easier. Because NOTAMs, I thought about it and I was like, where do you even find these things? The only like source of truth I could find was through the IFIS website, where you have to make an account, and it just comes out in this like text. So unless you know the standard phraseology or whatever, you don't really know how to understand that. So I think that could be quite good to add. It is a bit of work, so it won't be for a while yet. But yep, and you see there's a lot of empty space on that slide as well. So there's lots of things that can be added if anyone has any good suggestions. But I do have a job as well. So don't forget that. Yeah, so finally, if you want to submit something, just come talk to me. I'll have a little bit of a questionnaire at the end. Or send me a message or fill out the feedback form on the website as well. And yeah, finally, thank you to everyone for using it, for talking about it, for getting out there, for getting it out of the community even. Jonas spent half a day collating these screenshots as well, just like a bunch of the WhatsApp groups. It's quite cool to see, like organically it's kind of just grown. Like I've never really pushed it at all. I've never, just apart from that first notification I gave out 2 years ago, people have just picked it up, which has been really cool. But it has been quite surprising to see, like once in a while you see some person who is a local pilot and they're like, what's Zephyr? I've never heard of it before. It's a little bit of a shock, but fair enough. Some people do live under a rock. And yeah, finally the donations thing, the leaderboard I was telling you about. We've actually got Zach from Paragliding who has made the biggest donation at the moment, and Zhou from GeForce, I guess in appreciation for using the website a lot for the commercial ops, has actually put in a good contribution as well. And all these highlighted ones are Canterbury pilots, so they're pushing up Canterbury up in the rankings there. And Simon has made the biggest donation, so apparently he wins a set of coasters. Really the story behind that is Jonas just got himself a nice new 3D printer recently. So he just wanted to print some things. Yeah, come on, show them off, man. Show them
wow,
off.
look at this.
Thank you, Jonas. I'm sure if anyone wants any merch, he will be more than happy. But what's quite interesting is Wellington was actually quite up there for a long time, like well above Canterbury until just like 2 weeks ago, because the club actually donated a couple $100. And again, for a club of 50 people, I was very impressed, very grateful for it. And it would be nice to see, I guess, some of the bigger clubs stepping up a little bit. But, you know, like what I have gotten from donations already is definitely much appreciated. But I think I calculated my hourly rate would be like $2 an hour or something, based on that alone. But, you know, I'm happy to do it. And I guess I get compensated at work, so whatever. Maybe I'll do some of this in the office as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If anyone has any feedback, any suggestions, any questions, shoot. Good.
Just that height of the stations, maybe.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that's easy
We
enough.
don't have them. The elevation of each station, what we did.
No, just for the grid view.
Basically, it's just a single site. Yeah, it's sort of saying on the. Oh, was it? Right.
Like on the grid view.
Yeah.
Good view.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks very much, Carl. To be honest, I'm amazed that more people don't. I'm amazed there's only 2,000 people use it, because it is the most incredibly useful site since I started paragliding. I just think it's, and that favourites view and the alerts things, those are both really good features I'm going to add on.
Yeah, it is definitely just a little bit hidden, because I guess as new things come out, I don't really have a channel to post about that, so people just...
I just find if I get a nice big view so I can see what's happening 50 or 100 miles away, like at the top of the Southern Alps, just gives you so much context.
Absolutely, yeah. And you definitely can't do that just trawling through all these different, like, you know, Harvest and Hopefully and all these websites.
What is it, Willis Peak or something at the top of Porters? You can see the northwest there.
Yeah. There's definitely some good indicators. Exactly. But no, like I say, I'm really glad to do this. Like, it's definitely doesn't feel like a chore, doesn't feel like a job. A lot of it was, I mean, I guess it was kicked off by the community needing this, i.e. Louis needing this. But then just turning into, like, I guess a way to get engaged into something, like get my mind onto a problem to solve. I guess with that engineer's kind of brain, that is the way that I find fulfillment. And I've learned a lot, and I will say that this new job that I just started now, I probably wouldn't have been able to get it without this. So it has helped me as well. And yeah, definitely keep maintaining it and keep adding to it as long as I'm able to. It's not a job at all. Simon?
You should also mention if anyone knows any like good weather stations, getting in contact with Kyle that aren't on Zephyr.
Yeah, that's a
their
good one.
part would be
Exactly.
sick.
If anyone's got like ins with ski patrol or whatever, like let me know.
We talked about this a few weeks ago. What is there a possibility for those like cheap weather stations? Is there a possibility for having mobile weather stations that we can geotag temporarily? For example, taking one up to Cheeseman when we're flying there.
We can definitely look
Leaving
into
on
it.
a car, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because they're all on the cell network and solar powered anyway. And so there's definitely no problem with that. I guess the only thing is somehow flagging that it's active or it's not. Because obviously if it's in your garage and it's reading zero, it's
Not use.
Exactly. But I don't see a problem with that. Yeah, we could definitely
Kind of like a really high-tech windsock.
Yeah, pretty much. As long as we have some way to mount it, like on someone's truck or something, that could be quite useful. But hopefully we can get one up at Pendubs if we can get in contact with whoever owns the farm, like the barn there. That would be an okay way to, okay place to mount it if we get like a big pole and just put it up there.
I fully endorse you exploring that opportunity.
Who wants to put the hand up? Yes.
Ryan. I want to put my hand on something else. I make weather stations myself as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's awesome. Exactly. No, like I say, I don't really do much on the hardware side, but I'm definitely keen to try to get like more knowledge in how this kind of stuff works, how to integrate it, and like kind of potential places where we might be able to put them as well. But that's awesome. Thanks. Yeah. Cool. All right.
Cool. Very good. Thank you very much, Carl. So that's the end of our extravaganza tonight. A couple of things. So I put out a notice a few weeks ago about. So we had the incident with the RC pilots. With a collision with the RC pilots a while ago. The CAA's been asking us about it, and I've been communicating with the RC pilots about doing a joint video for RC pilots and paragliders. In the end, they did one themselves, which is kind of more oriented towards RC pilots and probably doesn't put the perspective that we'd like to see in there. I'd like to do a video. If any of you, either yourselves or know anyone who'd be willing to help out with it, Edwin's offered, but he does a lot of work on this stuff, so I'm reluctant to overload him, and I'd like to spread the load around. So if you know someone or you yourselves would be interested in doing it, not a big job, just a kind of a little video that we can put together and we can put out there, tell the RC pilots about flying in that area from our perspective. That'd be really good, so have a think about that. And our next meeting, our next club night's actually going to be only a couple of weeks away. It's going to be called Ask Me Anything, which is it's going to be a panel discussion with a few more experienced pilots. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, kind of a range of pilots to give their perspectives on, DM me. And just let me know what it is, and we'll put it together. So, yep.
That's a great idea. Thanks for putting it all together.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, it's great seeing you guys come along. If you see any newer pilots, please give them a poke and tell them to come along, because this is a really good forum to meet people and to learn the sort of stuff that you need to know. So yeah, it's a perennial problem, but yep, please do. Absolutely. Very good. Thank you, Jess, Ryan, Bevan and Kyle. Yeah.